Hi BookTube, it's Amy. I've been meaning to do a short video on Robert Southey's Letters from England for the last little while here. I finished reading this double volume set from 1818 about 2 weeks ago, and this is a work originally published in 1807 under a pseudonym. So Robert Southey decided to go by the name Don Manuel Alvarez Esparella, pretending to be a Spanish gentleman. He made the claim that these letters had originally been written in the Spanish and had been translated. As quickly became apparent, though, they were not written in Spanish, they were not translated. He wrote them in English, intending to publish them under this pseudonym. And I have to say, I did enjoy most of them. Largely, the first volume was better than the second volume. The first volume is a little bit more believable, I would say. It's a little bit more believable that these could really be the letters of a Spanish foreigner visiting and staying in England for the very first time. These letters are purported to be written from this, Spanish gentleman to his priest back in Spain. And so he has various observations on the English countryside, geographically speaking, but also English culture, English religion, English literature. And some of the letters do read like a travel memoir, and I really love travel memoirs. Other letters are less so believable because he really digs into specific subjects. And especially in the second volume, it's as though some of these letters are just an excuse to write sort of a short treatise or a short essay on a subject. And it's almost as though he believes that he can write them with this, cloak of protection, because it's not Robert Southey writing, it's this Spanish gentleman. But by this 1818 edition, everyone knew who had written these letters. Everyone knew it was Robert Southey. And so I would guess that he probably had to own some of his opinions. Perhaps he tried to pass it off as, they're just fiction, just fictional letters. But then you can probably guess that a lot of people agreed with him on certain opinions. But as I said, I enjoyed the travel memoir style letters much more. His thoughts on the city of London, his thoughts on various, English cities and towns where he stays. There's letters in here on, the English military, description of an English house, waterworks, Oxford, where he talks about the university there, fox hunting, various sports and whatnot, collectors. But he does dive quite a bit into religion. So if you're not interested in religious opinions, religious conflicts at the time, I would suggest if you're reading these, you would want to skip any letter that seems to have religion associated with it. And volume 2, there are certain letters in here that I probably would not read again. As with any author, when you're reading a 200-year-old author, there is a risk that you are going to come across something that would not be correct to write today, and certainly was not correct to be written at the time, but was accepted because certain people held those views. And I will warn you, if you decide to read the letters of Robert Southey, Letters from England, there is a letter in here titled Jews. And I think you can guess what some of the subject matter in there might be. That's all I'm going to say about that, because that's not the sort of subject I want to be talking about here on my channel. He's got letters in here on Quakers. He's got letters in here on religion in general. And he's quite harsh against anything that doesn't match his particular perspective on religion. And of course, writing as a Spanishman, he's writing from a Catholic perspective. And in some of these letters is really taking a critical look at the English church. Not really my cup of tea in terms of leisure reading, but that is in here. I think probably about half of the letters do have some literary merit, some room for enjoyment. Most of the other half, I would say, a little bit boring, not so interesting, very, contextual to his time. And there is a very small percentage, maybe 2 or 3 of the letters that I really would not recommend reading because there's no merit in them, and they're bigoted and not something that I would want to be suggesting that other people read. So although I did enjoy the letters for the most part, I would say if you're going to read letters from England, proceed with caution and know what you're picking up. But I did enjoy reading them in this little 2-volume set. I said they were published in 1818. They've held together quite nicely. The spines, pretty rough shape. We got a big chip off the top there, but the boards are very much still attached to the book. There's an inscription here from a previous owner, and it's hard to make it out, but it could say, well, it looks like a couple of W's. It could be N. It's hard to say, but the last name looks like Orne, and it says 1830. And then we've got someone else's ownership sticker, which probably mid 20th century. That second sticker in there. And I'll just show you the title page here. So there you can see Don Esperella, as Southey decided to call himself. And I will say, reading these letters, I can see why other contemporary poets of his day really had an issue with him. There's at least one poet who I know did not like Southey at all. This is an American printing, published in Philadelphia, and I'm holding up volume 2 here. The title page in volume 1 looks exactly the same. You can see how the text looks in here. This is his letter on the Bible. There's letters on Quakers and Methodists. He was not a fan of Methodists at all. I would say one of the more interesting things in volume 2 were his couple of letters on quackery and quacks, where he talks about the medical system and the doctors available, and the quack doctors that he says many people in England were falling victim to. So there's that as well. And there's a little bit of a stain on the back of that, but overall not in horrible condition. Same signature in the front board of the first volume as well. Same sticker. And in volume 1, someone has actually written in that it is Robert Southey in pencil there in brackets. And this is the 3rd American edition. There's a short preface, but it's only 2.5 pages long. And it is purported to be written by yeah, it is a fictional preface as well. I was just trying to remember before I made that claim. It is a fictional preface as well. And then we have a fictional preface by the translator. Because although by the time this 1818 set was published, everyone knew it was Southey, it wasn't, being... he wasn't, writing an introduction as himself. You'll see here, there's this little pointing finger here where the authorship is acknowledged. It is well ascertained that Don Emmanuel, when translated into an Englishman, is Robert Southey, whose poetical labours are well known in this country. And so an interesting little set, some enjoyable letters, but as I said, some not so enjoyable letters where if you were reading these, you would want to proceed with caution, and I'll leave it at that.